What's up, guys? User friendly here. I just beat the survival mage tower. I wanted to walk through my video with you guys and let you know what I did. I think this one's a lot more difficult than the beast mastery one, mostly because there is what I'm going to call a hardened rage. I'll go through the setup. This is what I needed. I got like 2-3% wipes, so I added some old food and whatnot. I mean, I'm using augment rune, which is kind of a waste. It's 5 agility. Food, I bought some Barrage blood sausage. This isn't my first server. I played on a server for like 12 years. I don't have a whole lot of resources here. A lot of these materials are ridiculously expensive. I highly suggest going and getting them yourself. But for agility users, blood sausage gives you 12 agility. I'm a panda, so I get 25, which is very nice. The old flasks, they give you 31 main stat, as opposed to current flasks, which only give you 19, so that's a big boost. Also, potions, battle potions of agility, that's 105 agility for 25 seconds, so you only have 372. This is with my buffs, so that is a huge difference compared to regular potions. Like current potions are 54, so it's double. So the consumables can make a big difference. If you can't get over the hump, I recommend putting in the time. Gear, I made myself the heirloom pig sticker because it's got 2 sockets, and I paid a reasonable price for the 2 gems, the Kraken's Eye and the Leviathan's Eye, for some extra agility. It's nice. The BFA faction hall or class order hall bracers have a slot in them, so I bought a pair of those. I bought a Perdaz because these are available from the blacksmithing vendor in Legion Dalaran. It's got a socket in it, and it's got really nice secondary stats. I also bought a Mark of the Claw enchant. This is Celestial Guidance. It's cheap. There's better ones low level, but if your heirloom isn't rank 1, then you can't enchant it with I actually have the enchant in my bag that I still bought here, Dancing Steel, but it can't go on 50 or higher, and this is a 53 at the moment. So, but other than that, that's all the gear changes that I did. I feel like it made a difference. I was getting down to like 12%. Agreed that a lot of it's probably my fault as not being optimal, but it is what it is. You need terms of engagement for the beginning phase. I also recommend not using any of your consumables in phase 1. Phase 1 is not a DPS race. There is a drop out of combat period between the 2 phases of this fight. So you can eat, you can flask, you can use a rune if you want to, because the first phase is not a DPS race. So I had this is the last flask that I had. I've had my augment rune, my tome of the still mine, and the food that I was using over here on the side, and I ate it when I got to phase 2 so that I didn't waste resources. Because if you die on phase 1, it is what it is. And there's some stuff that could kill you on phase 1, but it's not time related. It's just mistake related, as you'll see in the video. Other than that, let's go ahead and flip up to this, and I'll walk you through what happened. You need to make sure your pet's on taunt, or your taunt is on your pet. I had mine on passive at the beginning of the fight because I'm dumb. This whole phase is not a DPS check. You can see my weak orb that I have popped up there for mend pet. If my pet was below, I think 70% health, I have a little macro set up for mend pet. I have it also set up for exhilaration, but you don't need it. As long as you have a ferocity pet out, all the damage that you take in this fight during this phase is mitigatable. You saw that Razor Ice. That's the first main thing you need to deal with. He's going to drop down Razor Ice. You see the DBM timer. The thing about this is you have to jump, and you have to disengage at the peak of your jump in order to get out of this. If you don't disengage at the peak, You can also make sure that you're lined up so that when you come out, you're going out in between the things. It gives you a little bit more margin of error. But as long as you jump and you're at the peak of your jump when you jump, you'll get out of it. Otherwise, you'll hit them. If you hit one of those, it's pretty much instant death. Harpoon is your friend in this fight, obviously. It's not a DPS race, but you want to be able to get back and make the phase get over as quick as you can. The purple things resident coming out of the focusing iris over there, you can disengage over them. You can harpoon over them like I'm about to do. You got about a 50% chance of taking damage if you harpoon over it. You see, I took the damage there. But it really doesn't matter. It's worth it because you're just going to leech yourself back up to full. You want to, right before Razor Ice is going to come down, if you position it so that your back is right near one of the ends of those pillars so that when you disengage, you're going, the best direction, that's worth it. These phases, he disappears. You have to kill these things, these little copies. If you're outside, you take damage. If you kill one, they make a bubble that heals you while you're standing in it. That bubble right there. They're also casting a spell that is just a knockback that knocks you out of their area into the danger zone. The most important thing when doing this phase is you don't want to harpoon over to those guys until right after they finish the cast. And then you have the biggest window of time to kill them. Then you want to pick your next target, Serpent Sting them, usually throw in a kill command, and then you can honestly wait until they finish casting. When you go over there, your tip of the spear damage should be enough. You also have muzzle if you need it in this phase. Don't hesitate to use it. Try not to get knocked out. It's dangerous. I think I get knocked out 1 or 2 times during this kill, so you'll be able to see how to deal with it. The other thing he does in this phase is Shadow Barrage. Pretty straightforward. Don't get hit. Use this time to catch up on your pet healing so that he is at full health when the time comes. You also need to interrupt that draw power. It's the only thing that you need to interrupt. It's also not life or death. If it doesn't get interrupted immediately, the longer he channels it, he gets 5 stacks to do 5% increased damage. So it just puts a little bit more strain on your pet and makes it so that you have to focus a little bit more on your healing, which is already annoying. But so that's all. This whole phase is just that back and forth. You have this phase, you go in. I think I interrupt this guy. Yeah, I muzzle that guy. Pick my next target. When you pick your next target, you want to Serpent Sting, you want to kill command, you want to start looking around. If you guys notice, this is the target out here. He's casting a different spell. It's slower. It's called Arcane Annihilation. 2, if you look, there's sparkles in the air around where he is. There's also a little smoke thing on him. Those are the biggest differences. You'll also be able to sometimes see if they're too close. Sometimes the real him will be on top of one of the copies because the copies are all separated from each other. So if you see one that's out of the general pattern, it's usually him. Try not to rush. You can be patient in that phase. You have a little bit more time than you think. You don't have, all the time in the world, but you have more time than you think you do. So don't worry too much. But other than that, this whole phase is rinse, repeat. As you're running over to him after he teleports, be aware of the range of your moves. Kill command has a 50-yard range, so it's always the first spell you'll be able to cast. You can also cast Mend Pet on your pet while it's running over there, which I generally try to do. And then after that, you can kill command, then you can Serpent Sting or Wildfire Bomb, and then you can Harpoon. Harpoon has the smallest range, I think. It has a 30-yard range, whereas Serpent Sting is 40, Kill Command is 50, Mend Pet is 45. So just, optimizing your globals. You see I get bumped by that pillar there. I pop Exhilaration because it's not the end of the world. Generally, you want to save your Cheetah for a draw power interrupt. You can get a bad RNG draw and have him start casting Arcane Draw very soon after he comes over. I think I muzzled. I don't know if I muzzled that guy or not. One thing that can happen to you here, if you go over an existing monster with your harpoon. You can get knocked out of the air by the explosion of the one you are not targeting. So be aware of that. Also be aware of the range of your flare, because flare is what you have to use to get him out of his phase. And flare has a very long range on it. Between the range of flare and the diameter of the targeting reticle, you have a lot of room at your disposal. So be aware. Don't panic. It's just going to take practice. But like I said, no consumables here, because this is all that this is. There's no increase. There's no enrage. There's no timer. It's just this cycle over and over again. Once you get comfortable finding him in the abyss and disengaging out of his frost circles, that's his whole fight. It can be annoying, and you can die to, you'll die to frost, to the frost shard things. You can get knocked out like I just did, but you can get back in safely. You can take it nice and slow. Make sure you spend as much time in the middle of that bubble as you can. Once you get your next target situated and you get your first 2 attacks out, you can, be aware of where you're standing in the circle, in addition to checking for the real him. You can get a second or 2 extra of healing. That's another reason that healing isn't so important in this phase. You're going to get healed back in that phase very quickly at the beginning of it, because you're going to kill your first guy almost immediately. But other than that, this goes on until 10%. See, I got really RNG messed up on that one. I didn't have my cheetah. I had to run all the way around, but I prioritized men pet and kill shot at this level. Like I said, your damage rotation doesn't really matter here. It's really tough to maintain because you have to throw in so many men pets, and a lot of the survival DPS rotation is what you do in that 4-second window of your pheromone bomb going off. But almost every one of those windows, it has to be at least 1 men pet, so it's hard to practice your actual DPS rotation in here. That being said, you're going to get him down to 10%, and he's going to have a change of heart. I tried to feign death there. It doesn't work. If you look at the map, the mini-map in the upper right, you will see I'm on the west side. That's where the boss spawns. That's where you want to be. At this point, you need to do a couple things. One, you need to pop a Tome of the Steel Mind, and you need to switch from terms of engagement into probably Alpha Predator. You switch into whatever you think on that top chain is going to give you the best DPS. For me, it's simmed out Alpha Predator. I feel like Alpha Predator helps because it helps with some burst focus generation when you're dealing with the ads you're going to have to deal with. So you have to do that. 2, you want to turn Taunt off on your pet. If you don't do that, you're pretty much guaranteed to lose. The reason being that there's a whole bunch of stuff on the ground that you're going to have to avoid in this phase, and you need the boss aggroing you. He doesn't do any damage. It is completely negligible, the damage that he does, but you can't stand in the puddle on the floor. The puddle on the floor will eat your health alive. So during this phase, consumables, augment rune if you want, food if you want, if it's expensive and you didn't need it beforehand. Tome of the Still Mind, change your talents, turn pet taunt off. Another thing to remember here is if something goes bad in this phase, if he gets a heal off on one of his ads, you can just leave the instance group and it will kick you out and you won't waste your consumables. Here I will show you guys what I did. I had a macro here that I made specifically for this. It casts Coordinated Assault. It uses my IQD trinket. It casts Bloodlust, and it uses my Superior Battle Potion of Agility. And I put that cooldown thing on my bar, in addition to having all the other ones clickable and available. But you'll see me hit that macro as soon as Serpent's Sting goes out. And then it's just off to the races. Serpent's Sting, boom, macro. And then it's hard DPS. This is your best window. You have your potion. I toyed with the idea of saving all the burn until after the ads come up, but you can run out with Raptor Strike which you're going to see me pop here as I go out for the first set of ads. Right there, to be able to get some extra DPS in here. How far out you run is a balance of how comfortable you are with your ability to kill those ads, and how close you want to stay to the boss. You want to make sure you do as much damage as you can when they come out. It's binding shot time. You could try Tar Trap. I don't know if it's worth the global. I mean, you waste some globals out there waiting for the ads to spawn, but you generally need to be able to kill them pretty quickly within your resonating or your binding shot timer in order to win. Be aware of what bomb you have. I was throwing a green one first, so I dotted them all up with Serpent Sting before I threw the first bomb. You also want to make sure you have your cleave on hand. Expensive, but it reduces the cost of your wildfire bomb. Now we're in another burn phase. You need to make sure that you hug the outside of this wall and that you are right on the edge of the damage without being in it. This whole phase is a dance of staying out of that puddle on the ground. Sometimes it's moving and sometimes it's not. It hurts like hell when it hits you. So you need to, it takes some practice to get used to, you know, noticing whether or not it's moving, standing in it. Right now it's not moving and I notice that, so I walk back up and I keep the damage up. I don't think that there's a timer on the ads. I used the little timer down there at the bottom for my IQD at about a minute 35 left on that timer is when the ads come out. See, I stood in the thing and it hurt. Went back to damage. You need to make sure that you are ready for those ads. Wildfire bombs, whatever you need to do to be ready, make sure that you're ready. But you also want to make sure you get as much damage in on the boss. It's a very delicate balance. If he gets an ad into him, he heals 20% and you're done, because there's no way you're winning. If he heals an ad, just leave the party, leave the instance group, and heal up again. Also, you notice I stood really close to the wall. I think if you stand closer to the wall, you're much more likely to get the ads stacked right up on top of each other, because I had 3 or 4 wipes where I missed an ad with binding shot. So don't be me. See where you're at. You have a poison bomb. Get the ads dead. If one gets too far away, you can intimidate it. But other than that, hit the ads, get back in. I think I noticed that I'm too far out. I see it creeping out again, so you have to start backing up. And this is just DPS. Be aware of your cooldowns. If your coordinated assault comes back up again, because I popped the coordinated assault again. It aligned with the trinket proc, which was nice. If you're going to use the IQD like I did, I suggest holding the second use of IQD for the execute. There's a weak aura out there. I remember where I searched for it, but that weak aura shows you what it thinks IQD is going to do. If it doesn't say anything, it's just a static damage proc. It'll say EXEC for execute when it's time for, when you think it's going to do the execute damage. These guys are up. I had another green bomb, so I tab targeted all serpent stings, other than the, had to kill command to get some focus. Immediately carve. And I had another bomb, so I threw it. Melted really nicely, and then you run up and get back in position to dance again. For me, this was just a DPS check. You see now my IQD is ready again, but I'm not using it. I'm saving it for the execute phase. I don't know how much damage it did, but I figured like that's better use than the stats. I could be wrong. It was just a gut instinct I went with. Generally, the trinkets do a lot of damage. They scale really well. I know the tanks use the one from Mechagon to do some extra damage. I don't have that on this character, so I didn't use it. For now, we're in range. We're in execute range. I should be popping my IQD here. I pop it right before the ads there, right there. 2,000? I think I can check how much damage it did. Quantity device did 2.1 thousand, so that's nice. Yeah, same thing here. If you have a blue bomb, make sure you hit them before you carve, because it puts that extra dot up there, and then make sure you can utilize the rest of the pheromone stacks with Raptor Strike to dot them up. And at this point, do your damage. I don't think I had time. I didn't get time for a second potion. But make sure you're using your kill shot, even though you're a survival hunter. And hopefully you win. I'd say this one took me about as long as Beast Mastery, but mostly because of this DPS check. Beast Mastery is a skill check. This is a rotation DPS / gear check. I don't know. It's probably possible to do this one. The video that I watched the person do it, he had the staff from the 9, which is some big damage proc, which he used on this fight. So it's just about how you get over that damage check. This is how I did it. So yeah, you guys got any questions? Let me know. That's my tips and tricks. And that's 2 of them down. I don't think I'll be doing the Beastmaster or the Marksmanship one. I might do the Legion tank one because my tank's on a server that I have resources on. So, but there you go. Thanks for watching, guys.